Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have got a real treat for you. I have spent the past decade plus working in the mental health field. Let me tell you, I've seen some things, I've heard some things, and I've compiled a few of the best stories I have for you today. Now, it's always a tricky line to walk. You know, I'm not really going to tell you stories about my clients, even though I have so many funny ones too. But for now, I'm just talking about my experience in the mental health field. Although the first one is actually not going to be my own story. It's a story I heard years ago in graduate school, and I haven't been able to get it out of my head. One of my classmates told us this story, and I was that person in our class that couldn't stop laughing after it was over because I just kept thinking about it. So, you know, when you work in the mental health field, usually there are documentation systems. You have to write notes on your clients, usually for insurance purposes, but also just for internal documentation. So it'll often be some kind of note about how you interacted with the client. Well, one day we are on the topic of what is and isn't appropriate documentation, and my classmate offered this example. He tells us, I ran into this kind of recently, while I was meeting with one of my clients. He was talking about his own self-image and how ugly he thinks he is, and then he was comparing himself to me, and as my classmate's working with him as a mental health worker, this guy's like, I wish I were beautiful like you. I think Asian men are so beautiful. My classmate's like, oh, that's nice. And the client says, and the client's like, could you write that in your note that I think Asian men are beautiful? And my classmate says, I guess so. So he writes in his note, client notes, finding Asian men beautiful. So this is an internship. And when you're in an internship, you know, you're still learning the ropes. Somebody's checking your work. And so his supervisor has to address this. And so his supervisor is like, can I talk to you about this note? She's like, you don't really need to document something like that. Why did you write that? And he's like, oh, sorry, I won't next time. This one was not that long ago. I work as a therapist over telehealth, and a few weeks ago during someone's session, so my husky lab mix, Echo, he has this habit of putting his front paws down, keeping his ASS in the air, and letting them rip. He started doing this. He's just stretching, letting the raunchiest, wettest sounding farts rip. And he's out of frame, and I'm just looking at my client who's talking, not addressing it because I'm not sure if the client heard all that, but it's possible that they did and they were just being very polite. You could have been thinking, oh God. Okay, this last one is an old one. This is from when I was working in residential. And if you've ever worked in residential, if you're working in residential, God bless you. I know how hard that is. And if you're living in residential, same. I spent about 6 beautiful years working in residential. And all in all, I absolutely loved it. I'll always love all the kids and teenagers that I worked with. They hold a special place in my heart. But this story is from way back in the beginning. Within my first year or two working there, we would have mentorship time with assigned kiddos. And I brought a 10-year-old boy who was my mentee to the mall one day. We had a great time, mostly in GameStop. And you know, we only have like $10 to spend, so I'm trying to liven this activity up for him. And we go past an Auntie Anne's or something like that, a little pretzel place. And what do I see on the counter? A free sample. There's a whole bucket of free samples of those cinnamon sugar pretzels. So I'm like, come on, kiddo, let's go get a free sample. So I go ahead of him, you know, as my role as mentor, as leader. I go with my hand outstretched confidently. And just to kind of break the ice, I go confidently, oh, free sample. And two things happen at once. Another man who had been standing nearby took a big step away from me. I had come in confident. I had come in with my arm outstretched. He took a step back. At the same time, the employee took a defensive posture. She grabbed the cinnamon pretzel bites back and said, no, these are his. I said, oh, sorry. And we scampered out of there. That was all for today. Thank you so much for stopping by and for watching. Give this video a thumbs up and let me know what kind of story time you want to see next. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye.